I'm here.
Dr. Camilla Bustamante.
She's
She's excused?
yes.
Yes, she had a medical emergency this morning.
Okay. Robert Lurcott.
Here.
John Fines.
Good morning.
Kate Kennedy.
Here.
And I have Kim Abeta excused and Holly Bradshaw Eakes excused. Correct, Fabian?
Holly was supposed to be here, but she's excused if she's not here.
Okay. You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for May 27th, 2020. Do we have any changes from staff?
There are no changes from staff, Counselor.
Okay, any changes from the committee? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Was that John?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
This
Okay.
is Ryan. I second.
Okay, thank you. So Elizabeth, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Joanne Beho Coppler,
Yes.
John O'Shea,
Yes.
Ryan Cordova,
Yes.
Robert Lurcott,
Yes.
John Fines,
Yes.
Kate Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes from staff?
No changes from staff, Counselor.
Okay, any comment from the committee before I accept a motion to approve the agenda? Okay, anybody want to make a motion to approve the
So
agenda?
moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Elizabeth, will you please call for the vote?
Yes, Chair Joanne Beho Coppler,
Yes?
John O'Shea,
Yes.
Ryan Cordova,
Yes.
Robert Lurcott,
Yes.
John Fines,
Yes.
Kate Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of the consent agenda. We have none, but nevertheless, we still have to approve.
Move to
Anybody
approve.
have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Second from anyone?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Elizabeth, will you please call for the vote?
Chair Joanne Beho Coppler,
Yes?
John O'Shea,
Yes.
Ryan Cordova,
Yes.
Robert Lurcott,
Yes.
John Fines,
Yes.
Kate Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next is our introductions. Fabian, do we have any introductions to make?
I'd like to introduce Melissa Coleman. She's the president and CEO of Laporte Originals. She'll be part of the presentation coming up. Otherwise, and then Melissa also has some employee or some members of her presentation that she can introduce at that time also.
Okay, welcome, Melissa.
Thank you
And
very much.
everyone with you. And I can see one person. Okay,
Just us.
all right. So welcome, and we'll be getting to you in just a minute, I'm sure. Okay, thank you, Fabian. So next item is the consent agenda. We have none. So, and we've already approved it. So action items. Item 3A, request for review and approval of an ordinance relating to the City of Santa Fe Economic Development Plan Ordinance, yada, yada, approving and adopting a local economic development project participation agreement between City of Santa Fe and Laporte Originals. And the citation goes on. I think you all have it on your agenda. So with that, I will turn it over to Fabian, and then you can reintroduce the subject. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you so much for having us today. What I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to give an overview of the project and introduce it to you. Then I'm going to turn this over to Melissa Coleman, and she's going to tell you more about Laporte Originals, and then we will open up for questions. So let me begin. First of all, just a brief overview. Laporte is a local family-owned artisan handcrafted manufacturer. They manufacture custom-made doors, cabinets, gates, furniture, and other wood products. They've been in Santa Fe for 25 years. We consider them a cornerstone of the artisan manufacturing and design industries. Currently, they have an employee base of about 13 employees and a quarterly payroll of about $130,000. They have had impacts because of COVID-19. So today we're going to be asking you to review and approve or recommend approval of a LEDA loan project. The reasons for that for Laporte is they had a contraction in revenues during this time period. They were projected to have record or revenues in excess of $2 million this year, then and also in excess of $2.3 million for 2021. Because of COVID-19, they've had to lay off employees, and they've had to reduce salaries, and so they're requesting public assistance through the New Mexico COVID-19 LEDA loan program. So this is kind of what the overview of what the project is going to be. We are requesting that you approve $37,578,000 for a 0% COVID-19 loan for 2 years. During that time period, they would maintain an employee base of 13 people and a quarterly payroll of $130,000. Then they would repay the loan in full in 2 years. We're going, as in all LEDA projects, we're going to have a security. We're going to take security against equipment that they have. And so we both us and the state of New Mexico, the Economic Development Department, we've reviewed the project and we recommend that. We are asking for approval. The other things I would like to bring out, the economic impacts to the economy over the next 10 years. Laporte is estimated to generate $3.3 million in net benefits for the state of New Mexico over the next 10 years. They are also going to generate $110,000 in net benefits in gross receipts taxes, property taxes, and other revenues. And so what this would do is it would maintain an employee base of 13 highly skilled employees in artisan manufacturing for wood manufacturing in Santa Fe, and more importantly, it's going to assist a family-owned and locally operated Santa Fe business to remain in business and continue serving Santa Fe and outside of New Mexico. They are considered an economic-based business because they are a manufacturer, and 80% or more of their revenues is outside of New Mexico. The committee approval schedule that we are asking to is we will be going before the Finance Committee on the 20th of June. Tonight, it's going to be at the City Council for a request to publish, and then final approval is going to be on July the 29th. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, and you can tell a lot more about the Laporte project and fill in some more of the details.
Thank you, Fabian, and thank you all. And Councilwoman Behill Coppler, thank you very much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it to be able to tell you a little bit more about our company. Laporte Originals manufactures doors, gates, furniture, and cabinetry with only reclaimed wood and antique material. We've been in business a little bit more than 25 years. In that my husband, who started this business about 32 years ago, started in his garage on Hillside Avenue. And since that time, the business has grown into sort of a architectural and construction business into a manufacturing company. At one time, we employed 60 people prior to 2008. And since that time, we have seen a smaller sales after the 2010 is when we started feeling the impact of the economic downturn. And just over the last 5 years, we've seen a stabilization of our sales and consistency from year to year. And this past year, we had one of our highest profit levels that we've had since I took over the company almost 21 years ago. So we have asked for the state to provide a zero interest LEDA loan to help us pay our rent, our lease payments, and those lease payments that we're asking for is over the course of 6 months. We feel like with the economy where it is right now, we feel like that's probably one of our highest priorities, is to be able to maintain our lease payments for the next few months. So that's what we're asking for with the LEDA loan. And we also have received the PPP, which has been it's been a godsend to us because of the fact that most every business in the state had been closed down, and a lot of our business, while it isn't in Santa Fe, it comes from out of state. So we've been able to survive, if you will, over the last 4 months with the help of the PPP. And we feel like we've met all the requirements for that to be forgiven as a grant. So that's where we are. We do have business. We do have some big projects that we're working on, from projects that we've been working on for the last few years that are finally going to happen. And we are able to maintain our staffing levels at this point. And for our business right now, we have work into September. So that's, for us, that's a good thing.
Thank you. I may have missed it, but do you want to introduce your colleague?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's
She's
okay.
she's my left-hand person today. Kathy Stockton is the finance manager of Laporte Originals, and she's been working here for about 10 years. And she handles all the financial aspects of the company.
And can you go over where you're located?
We are on Highway 14, just right next door to the Santa Fe Brewing Company. And we bought this property and moved out here in 2005. Prior to that, we were on Cerrillos at Baca in the rail yard.
Right, that's where I remember seeing, the doors and such that you had outside. And I always thought it was really cool. But anyway, okay, now time for committee questions. Does anyone on the committee have any comments, questions about the proposal? No?
Mr. Fines has his hand up, Madam Chair.
There he is. Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, John?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just comment very briefly, since I think this is so well deserved. It's just very exciting to see a long-term local business that's a net exporter that exports so much. We don't always see a lot of that around Santa Fe or even in New Mexico. And if you take a look at what they've been up to, they've been profiled in Fortune magazine. They've been in the Robb Report, which, if you don't know the Robb Report, it's sort of I used to work for that publisher. They publish the fanciest stuff they can find in the world for the most high-end people, most high-end subscribers out there. So it's a really major piece of media to acquire. And so this business has been profiled in the likes of those international publications. It's not tourism dependent, which I think, once again, we're going through the lesson of having so many eggs in the tourism basket. So we love our businesses, of course, that are not subjected to the whims of a tourism downturn. Although an economic downturn, of course, is a lowering tide sinks all boats temporarily. But even so, I would hope that this business has certain types of recession-proof customers. Also, I think I just want to note briefly that it's such fine craftsmanship. And one of the things that I noticed when I returned to Santa Fe was how much our economy and our community produces craftsmanship, old world craftsmanship, which has been sort of disappearing in a kind of a prefab digital landscape over a couple of generations. And yet in Santa Fe, we know about Indian market and those kinds of things and our culinary talent, but you can go across the board and find the most amazing craftspeople who do things the right way. I hired a stucco guy last year. He was like the Michelangelo of stucco. And so I love to see this kind of true craftsmanship. I only wish I could hire you guys for my home, but maybe someday. So anyway, I just love this story. And I think that obviously, as I've said before about LEDA, it's securitized, it's low to no risk, and it's really the finest example of public and private partnership, good times or bad. And the way Mr. Trujillo and the department have been handling LEDA, I just really don't have any questions. I think we're in very good shape on this one. So thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
John. Any other comments? Okay, Robert. You're muted. There you go.
Well, I agree completely. I think with the importance of this business to Santa Fe and the appropriateness of using this program to help them out and extend their business through this problem area. I had a couple of questions. I was confused a little bit. I thought Fabian, you said that this was part of the PPP, but
No,
now
this
I
is
have the
not
impression that it's separate. It's a state.
You're correct, Mr. Lurcott. I apologize, Counselor. Counselor, Mr. Lurcott, this is separate. This is a completely different state program.
Okay.
Miss Coleman has received the PPP as well, as what she said in her opening remarks.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, it's nice to see that program being used. It seems to me the way it was intended to be used for relatively small businesses to keep them going and keep people employed. In the documentation, it talked about a 2-year period, but I also saw in the attachment A that the 2 disbursements would be in August and October of this year, which squares with what Ms. Coleman was talking about of doing it in the next 6 months or so. But somewhere in the documentation, it talked about 2 years, I thought.
You're correct. The loan itself is for 2 years.
Oh, the loan is 2 years. I see.
Money is
Okay.
going to be dispersed over a 6-month period.
Okay, I get it.
That is the request of the company, but the Laporte will have until 2 years to repay that monies back.
Got it. And that is not like PPP in terms of forgiveness. It will have to be paid back, correct?
Correct. It is a
Okay.
0% loan period. There's benchmarks that they have. If they fall to 90% of the payroll, their loan goes to 3%. If they fall to 80%, it goes to 6%. And if it falls below 70% of the payroll, then
Yeah,
it's due immediately. Those are the benchmarks, and I guess you could say like the clawback that is in there. But there's also opportunities for us to work with them if there's a cure period, like we have with all the LEDA projects. Our goal is never to get money from the city or from the state. Our goal is for businesses to succeed and expand, and in this case, recover and retain these employees. So we hope that is the ultimate goal, and we want Laporte to continue to be in business for the foreseeable future.
Well, I agree. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Any other comments from anyone? Okay, Mr. Cordova.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question is just to Ms. Coleman. How do you feel about in regard, you said you have work until September. I know how construction and all that thing works. I mean, I know how the business is right now. It's going up and down. And I'm curious how you feel in regards to your projects that you have through September and possibly after that. I know I've actually worked with you guys before as far as a construction company, and I know the quality of work that you all do. How do you feel about that moving forward?
Well, these are just jobs that we've had come in the last few weeks that have pushed our calendar out. We still have pending projects and other jobs that are coming in. So this period of time is typically our busiest time during the year. So these are sales that we have gotten prior to this time. And typically by this time of year, we start seeing an uptick in construction all over. But when we work with people from out of state, some of those projects go into multi-year. We have a project right now that we've literally been working on for 5 years that's just now getting ready to have their doors. And that project will not only have doors and exterior doors, interior doors, but they'll also have interior cabinetry and other millwork as well. So that will go on for at least another year to a year and a half.
Mr. Cordova, do you have any other questions? Not sure.
Looks like he's frozen.
I think he's frozen and his microphone's off. Okay. Any other comments, questions from the committee? I have a question. If you have a customer who comes in and wants something, a door or gate or the other items you mentioned that you work on, if they want something different than reclaimed wood, is that something you offer as well?
No, ma'am. We don't offer any new wood products at all. It's just, we buy about 130,000 board feet of reclaimed lumber about every quarter. And we just use that. We don't use new wood. We feel it's more sustainable and it's a better product for us.
Okay, I'm only asking because if there's anybody watching this meeting, the more they know about you, the better. So that's good for business. And I guess the other question is if you have a website. We
do. It's actually, a lot of our business comes in through our website. It's LaporteOriginals.com. Okay. And we've spent a good deal of time over the last few years really getting that website as our e-commerce site for the company.
Great. Well, I think it's fantastic, and I'm hopeful the city will be able to move forward with this. I don't see any reason why it would not. I do want to mention that I asked to be a co-sponsor on this bill some time ago, and it's, sometimes things are done very early on before, people jump on board, but I know that the ordinance before you doesn't have me as a co-sponsor, but it has been certainly requested and put into the system. So I fully support what you're doing, and thank you for that. Any other comments before we vote? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, and it's been moved by John, and any second?
I second.
There you go.
This is Kate.
Kate is seconding. Okay, Elizabeth, will you please call for the vote?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Joanne Vigil Koppler,
Yes.
Sean O'Shea.
Yes.
Sorry. Robert Lurcott.
Robert, you're muted.
Robert Lurcott.
Oops.
Sorry, aye.
Ryan Cordova.
Yes.
John Fines.
Yes.
Kate Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The next item is executive session, and we have none. So we'll move to informational items. There's none. Items from staff. Rich, I see your lips moving.
And my mute's on. It's usually on or off some days, but good morning, Madam Chair, and good morning to the committee members. Thank you for convening this morning, and thank you for your vote on Laporte. We're very excited about their growth, and this lead alone hopefully will be helpful with them in these times. So I just wanted to ask some of my staff to give a quick update on some of the things we're doing. We don't get to meet very much because of COVID, and so I just want to let you know some of the activity that's happening on the staff level. So I wanted to start with Liz Camacho and then go to Janice Krish, and then from Janice Krish to Lauren Lucero, and then we'll finish up with Daniel Hernandez, who will give us an update on Midtown. So Liz, would you like to start out?
Certainly.
Just give a quick update?
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted.
Yes.
Well, I'm at the office today and really excited because we're going to get out some of our Santa Fe Promise material. We've been working very collaboratively with tourism, with land use to get the Santa Fe Promise material. So what we've done is basically pack up kits of masks and then these rack cards. The rack cards have the promise on them. It makes it easier for employees to have conversations in businesses with maybe tourists to say, it's not my policy, it's kind of the city policy, and it's the values that we have here in a way that's not necessarily confrontational. So that's, I think, really a positive thing. Randy has really very much hit a lot of the downtown area. So Lauren, who's also on the call, will be helping out, and she'll be helping us hit the Cerrillos Road, particularly the hotels is where we're going to hit at, because we know that some of the next spike might be coming from some of the tourists. So we're going to hit there, give them some free masks, give them posters. Also, there's a decal from the Chamber of Commerce for the Santa Fe Safe campaign that they're running as well. And with the Restaurant Association, because we've tried to really modify some of the regulations to see how we can help the restaurant industry. I've got some people, volunteers, also helping out, and because of Spanish speaking, I'll be hitting up the Airport Road hotels. Again, the same packet, the Santa Fe Promise poster, the rack cards, the pins, some free masks for them, as well as information in terms of some of the changes that we have done to be more business friendly in this COVID time for the restaurant industry. And I'll be hitting up the Airport Road and probably some of the Cerrillos Road restaurants as well. From there, really, I think we haven't really seen each other since the COVID started. COVID really got us into a big frenzy of how do we get things updated. And I think we came together really well as a team. Fabian put on these amazing webinars in terms of, like we just mentioned, the triple P loans that came in. He got together. He not only brought together people who were explaining from SBDA about the triple P programs, the other loan programs that we had, also brought together the workforce secretary from New Mexico State to do that. And he did it in Spanish, he did it in English, and we had several forums with Somos where we talk about financial resources for businesses in Spanish via Somos. We did unemployment, we did mortgage, we did Connect, because that's their social work program. We did voting, we did workers' rights. We also put together a website, which I try to keep as much possible up to date on, which is the altogether.org. I think we're now seeing it peter out a little bit, but at the peaks of it, really, we would get about 3,000, 4,000 a day. When COVID started, I did all the newsletters on a weekly basis. That I've also tapered out. But the newsletters were really impressive because I thought, people are really interested in Midtown, but honestly, with the newsletters and with everybody looking for resources, I would get people sending them out to other people. We would have the ED newsletter that would probably get about 10,000 individual views, and really people forwarding it to it. I've got a lot of new things that kind of started coming in. So I don't do the newsletter as often anymore. And then Midtown, I was on that for quite a bit. But then because of the furloughs and rearranging and trying to collaborate, we've got Jesse now from Legislative Services, who's really heading up that communication. I think well with Christine. Yeah, and so those are, I think, a lot of the things that we've been doing in terms of, and then obviously, and this is some of the work that Rich has been doing, which is the food security. And the food security has been very exciting because I don't know if you guys, many of you know that we have our food accelerator. We have our graduate class. I think it's a 15 people. I'm going to be talking Richard Eads show next Thursday about the results from it and the work that we're doing with the county in terms of tourism, and then the entrepreneurship, a regional program that we have also targeting food. And then one last one. And the food security has been really interesting. Right now we're getting free food from Shamrock, but we're just looking for a place to store it because we've really come together in terms of the Food Policy, the Food Depot, NM Agricultural Society, communities and schools, and Bienvenidos. And we all kind of come together and really discuss kind of how we can each help out and what people can give in terms of goods to each other. So that's gone from a bi-weekly call to a weekly call, but how do people get the food out? Youth Works World Kitchen was really a part of that. So that was really good. And then what was it? It was one more thing I just wanted to wrap up with, which nope, I think I forgot.
That's
So
it. Yeah, good.
thanks,
Liz.
guys. Good to catch up with you. And obviously, I always welcome any of your comments or anything that you might have to help us out with it. So, oh, I know what the last thing is. We actually redid our resource page, our small business resource page at a much needed moment. And I'm really excited. The web page looks really well. We worked with Hatchform to help us out with that. And hopefully we'll be able to continue it. But it's really thrilling to get that updated. And hopefully, just like this small business, many small businesses will have access, and we're going to see how we can build on it. Of how do you take Lido? What is JTIP? You know what I'm saying? What are other financial resources? And I think the resource page is looking really great. So I'm really excited that Hatchform, we got to work with them to do that.
Madam Chair, I see Mr. Lorcrat has a question.
I just wanted to say that I think that newsletter is impressive and from my perspective, really helpful. That was the way I figured out what was going on actually, and I hope you keep it up. That was the way I learned that there were these bi-weekly meetings that land use was holding on Midtown. But it was a really good summary for me as a member of the committee, and I'm sure for the general public as well. So I hope you keep it up, and it's good. Nicely done.
Good to hear. Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate that. I seriously appreciate it.
Rich, more?
Yes, Janice, Chris, if you have a quick update.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. So my focus has been researching grant opportunities for the city of Santa Fe. There are two in particular that we're focused on, and one is called the Arcturus Opportunity Zone Grant. Arcturus is a private investment company that's awarding up to $25 million for development programs per city. And in particular, the development of underinvested communities. It includes improving infrastructure and public buildings. They fund programs that provide critical solutions such as affordable housing, renewable energy, equitable workforce development. And being in an opportunity zone, we think that the Midtown District would be an area of focus for this grant. The funding would provide 80% of the capital, and the city partners would provide a 20% match. So we need to identify the matching partners, and potentially some of the funds could come from affordable housing that has access to infrastructure funds. And we also need to meet with the KDC, Sienda partners to further this grant opportunity. The second grant is the EDA CARES Act Recovery Assistance. And this grant provides a wide range of financial assistance to communities as they respond to and recover from the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. So entrepreneurial support programs, technical assistance to retain employees and hire new employees, and workforce development projects that help employees compete for higher quality jobs are types of projects that could be funded through this. And I've been working closely with Santa Fe Community College on creating workforce development and internship program pipelines. So, so that one is in the works and we're pursuing that further. We're also working with the county to secure funds through the state LEADS grant which is the Local Economic Assistance Development Support Grant, to obtain software solutions and data for our business retention and expansion program. And this would be tracking software and a real estate database that would showcase our commercial sites and buildings to expand our national reach, which would be shared with the county. So this would be a program that the county and the city would share, and be a collaborative effort to have our sites all in one place, where site selectors and commercial real estate agents could find what's available in Santa Fe and the county. And finally, I just want to mention that our business license office has become a lot smoother. We had furloughed employees from parking and constituent services, helping us catch up on work there. We've repositioned one of our employees from constituent services to work with us now full-time. And we pretty much built a new team there. And also working with the fire department, we're collecting the fire fees, and payment with the fire fees can now be done online. And this is great news and progress for the city and our business licensing office.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'd like to ask Lauren to give a quick update.
All right, thank you.
Hi, our free public Wi-Fi project is now live. We have 13 locations spread out through the 4 districts. And the point is, you park within the parking lot, of course, socially distanced, and you have high-speed internet to do your work or homework. And it's been really successful. I've tested them out. There's a lot of traffic. And there are kids, there are people, and I'm promoting it by handing out flyers. Liz is promoting it by doing website research, and Janice is helping me too. Ms. Chair, what is your district?
Oops, unmute.
Madam Chair, you're muted, yeah.
4.
She's District 4.
Okay, so your locations are Kearney and the Chavez Center, just in case you want to promote it.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Lauren. Madam Chair, I'm going to turn it over to Daniel Hernandez, and he'll give us an update on Midtown Campus.
Thank you. Daniel?
Hey, Counselor, it's good to see you. It's been a little while. Just a quick update on what's happening at Midtown since May 4th, when the governing body approved the execution of what is called the exclusive negotiation agreement. And just as a reminder, that agreement is an agreement between the city and the developer to work through a process in which they will be creating a development plan and the land use zoning plan, which will happen towards the end of this agreement period. The agreement it's for 12 months, and there's an extension period for that in case the work that we need to get done, most likely the approval process has not been completed at the back end. But they're doing a lot of work to gear up in that process of creating the development plan. So they haven't really put pen to paper yet. Part of this, this initial 3-4 months is about doing due diligence. And so for those of you in the development world, it means walking through the buildings, identifying mechanical, electrical, plumbing system problems and or the status of them, doing environmental work on infrastructure on the site, and civil engineering, and just an array of due diligence in order to give them an idea about what the site actually contains and what the issues are that will either hinder and or facilitate the type of development that the city wants to see. So again, the development planning process hasn't begun. It's all been due diligence, but they are gathering information, just not only from the site, which includes the buildings and the land, but also meeting with groups of people, whether it's people interested in the reuse of the Fulkerson Library, the reuse of the Garson Studios, the reuse of the Garson Performance Theaters, ideas about technology being on site, and using some of the existing buildings there. So they're hearing and meeting and talking a lot with a lot of people, so they're just bombarded with lots of information, which is exactly the purpose of this due diligence period. So on the communications and on the public engagement side, we've been working and is about to be finalized. Well, it's actually the final touches are happening right now, and we hope to execute within the next week. a public engagement contract with the University of New Mexico. It's a program called Design Assistance and Planning. And so it's led by a woman who's located here in Santa Fe, Michael Pride. She's a professor at UNM, but also has done a lot of national work in public engagement. One of the first pieces of that scope of work will be to put together a community advisory board so that they're helping to formulate that public engagement process. One of the things we just know at the city level, and people who have worked in the city a lot over many years knows that, doing public engagement is a very, very challenging task. And when you sort of work directly with a community group to do it and implement it, it holds a lot more gravity than when the city is doing it themselves. So that's why we did this third-party contract with UNM. They've been great at talking to us about best practices, the scope of work, and we're about to now execute that agreement. So it'll be exciting as they gear up and start formulating, again, that community advisory board, and then start developing an actual community engagement plan that they'll begin implementing most likely in the fall. So that's a quick update. If there are specific questions, I can try to answer them. If I don't have an answer, I'll find them and get them back to this committee.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Daniel? Robert, I think you do.
Yeah. You mentioned at one point that the developers will be developing a plan. And at the same time, I think it's in the minutes, reference to the one of the consulting contracts for planning and economic analysis. And the last time, I think you said that they would participate in this with the city or be the city's advisor. So I'm not sure how that plan development works. When was it James Fields, the housing guy, spoke last time, he talked about having, or maybe it's in the minutes actually that I read that said, we have a building layout that's just the beginning. So he's got some kind of a plan in his head and maybe on a piece of paper or the back of an envelope, but I'm just curious about how that works and what sort of input that the city will have through with its consultants in developing this plan.
Yeah, so as part of the submission package during the request for ideas, really request for expressions of interest, we asked the respondents to provide their big level ideas about what they would propose to be on the site based on the planning guidelines that were developed in 2018. And a lot of those proposals, those 5 proposals that were done by local firms, urban design firms, sort of envision.
Where are them?
So their response was just sort of like, what are these ideas? And they kind of put them down on paper so that they could at least give us their best thinking in the request for a submission package process. Now it's sort of like, the viability, they hadn't done all their site due diligence work. That wasn't part of the, the process for submitting their ideas. But now they're actually able to kind of put test their ideas by walking the site, talking to directors of various departments, getting their technical team to, tour the buildings and do site analysis type of work. So once they do that, the next thing they'll do is they'll start, saying like, well, what was viable, what's not viable based on what we've heard, what we've learned, what we initially thought of was a good idea. And our team, the city's team, will begin sort of guiding that process. So we hear sustainability and water retention is a major factor for infrastructure. How are you achieving that? We'll hear about housing affordability on the site. What's the strategy for ensuring that? And so all of those things will begin developing, and our team will be interacting with the developer to make sure that those things get incorporated to the development plan. And that probably, yeah. I mean, I'll keep you guys updated when that actual will start. Right now, that hasn't even started. They're still kind of doing their research, if you will.
Robert, do you have any more questions?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or questions for Daniel? Okay, the only comment I would make is I really think this report is in the wrong place on the agenda. It's not, shouldn't be in staff report. I didn't know, Daniel, that you were going to be presenting. So it really belongs under informational. And the reason for that is because anyone from the public who's viewing our agenda, which we do publish, maybe would have tuned in if they knew we were having a report or an update on Midtown. So it's inappropriately placed, but yet, Daniel, we welcome you. You're well hidden on the agenda.
We'll make sure that it gets in the right place next time.
Yes.
And please invite me back anytime you want.
Yeah,
That would be
Madam
the
Chair, we'll do that.
ground.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you know, anytime we have a report on Midtown, this is a big deal. And it does, you know, it's not even mentioned on the agenda. So I need to say that I think that's a faux pas and it shouldn't happen again. Not your presentation, Daniel, but.
No, I get it. We'll be
Yeah.
more,
Yes,
more vocal.
we'll put it under information. Yeah, yeah. I'd asked him the other day, so, okay.
Robert?
I'm sorry, I forgot one other question I had. It relates to the housing issue and the question of how this site is used in providing generally affordable housing and also a housing that is made available for or in the range of the people who we hope will be working there. And it seems to me that's the sort of major basic question as you approach the housing deal. I'm curious about how you are beginning to go about that decision-making process.
I can't imagine this project moving forward without having a range of affordable housing to a broad range of Santa Fe people. I mean, it's just the underlying premise of any urban development in 2020, but most definitely here in Santa Fe. We hear, I mean, I don't think I've been in a discussion once where someone just says it should be all luxury market rate housing. That just does not happen.
No,
It's more about how do you incorporate affordable housing into a district so that it's equitable, that it, you know, it's throughout the district. It's not isolated in any one spot. It's an underlying principle, I think, for the project.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone is pressing for more luxury housing. The question, it seems to me, is whether it is a mix so that we maybe will get 15% of truly affordable housing, which is the hard part of providing affordable housing for really poor people, or whether it will be a larger percentage of that because in this instance, we have a greater ability to subsidize the construction of those very low income units.
Yeah.
It's how far you want to go in the latter way, as opposed to just requiring 15%, which is what you'd have to do anywhere in the city.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, as you probably know, there's two things I guess I should probably respond with. One is one of the highest, the reason this firm was selected, this development team was selected because of James Field leading the team. And then the local affordable housing developers that are on the team, which there will most likely be more affordable housing developers joining the team over the course of the years. But James has a deep background in affordable housing policy and finance. He used to run the Bank of America community development financing branch. And so he, you know, has national connections as well as just understands how affordable housing policy works. Meaning that, you know, he knows that 120% is the workforce, the 100% is, you know, a little less than the workforce, and they're struggling maybe even to meet your rent. 80% begin to get low income, 60%, then there's subsidy financing available, and then extremely and very low income. Those are really hard units to finance and usually requires a cross subsidy where you have higher income rents helping to subsidize those lower income rents. He's really aware of all how, you know, affordable housing is financed at the district level. So we'll be pushing him and learning from him on how we might, you know, do it here in Midtown. But I know that we want that full range, not only of household incomes, but household types. You know, whether you're a single person or a small family or a larger family, we want to make sure that the diversity of household types are also included. I mean, there's people talking to us about, we'd love to see artist housing. So there's just a range of stuff that we're going to try to push the envelope on. We want a diversity of housing types in Midtown.
I assume that you are figuring you will use the value of the land as one of the ways to subsidize the most difficult units to produce.
There is where the hardest part is going to be. The land
Yes.
will help to subsidize these public benefit objectives, and that's right on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I want to make some points about the affordable housing piece, and I did sign on, Daniel, as you know, to the affordable housing component. My comments at that time were maybe have changed from what I heard that day, but what I did hear that day was not anything definitive. As I said, and was quoted apparently, is I heard a lot of try when it comes to affordable housing. You might remember that. And, you know, I didn't hear anything that made me think yet that this was a commitment to affordable housing. But I think you all and the partners need to understand that prior to any of you coming on board, the city spent a great deal of time with public engagement, as you say. And of course, we had some issues and some problems with that, but we did get a wide range of people attend at Genevieve Chavez Center, as well as I think some other areas, to post note their comments. And the biggest cry out was, you know, we need places for people to live. I don't think anybody recommended that the whole place be used for affordable housing, but that, you know, we have opportunity for housing. Now, the other thing I do know, and as a realtor, having worked with businesses, affordable housing is not a moneymaker. And the only reason anybody is in this thing, really, partners or otherwise, is going to be, how do we make money? And, you know, my belief is that this isn't, Midtown development is not solely to be repurposed for someone to make money. But I realize that has to happen, or else y'all wouldn't be in this business as it of Midtown. So, and there are many partners in this group that we have managing Midtown that, you know, they're not fly on the walls. They're here for a purpose. So I want to keep honing in on this until, even if I'm never a city councilor again or whatever, I will be honing in on this because I will still be a member of this community and a realtor to boot. But, you know, we have many people in this city who need places to live, and maybe they're just on the edge of being able to afford something, but just maybe can't right now. This is public property, and we have a need, and I really think that this group needs to put that need in the forefront. And I don't know how it will work, if it's going to be partly fee in lieu of or not, but it's important to contribute in the affordable housing arena where we have physical structures for people to live in. The other part I want to say is, part of making money when you build affordable housing is to cut corners and to make these houses. You can go into many neighborhoods in this city, everybody can point out which house is the affordable one. And that's a matter of, I think, style and taste. And I've had this discussion with Mike Lofton where, you know, do you have to make every affordable house look like an affordable house? You know, why can't you use a Viga instead of a 4x4? You know, things like that. Now, I want you to keep your eye on that, and I want the group to keep their eyes on that, because there's a very tasteful way to integrate affordable housing with regular housing and not create a stigma. So, and we do have stigmas in our city when it comes to affordable housing. So those are my points, and I will continue to make them as we go on, but I appreciate you bringing, you know, standing for questions and coming before us. And we always welcome your reports. Thank you.
Well, if I may, Councillor, I think you're speaking the reason why I got involved in this kind of work was to make sure that public resources are used for public benefits. And you're constantly walking that line of, you know, how far is too much, and, you know, what's good for the city. And those are things that I have dedicated my career to. And as you know, I was a affordable housing developer in San Francisco when I started my career, but and trying to make it fit into, not trying, but successfully fitting it into the neighborhood so that it wasn't stigmatizing people. So I think all of those things are so important, and that's my mantra, and I hold me to that test, and let's work together and make sure that this happens at Midtown.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments for Daniel before we close on this topic? Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Rich, do you have any other portions from?
Yeah, that's all from the staff that we just had an update on. I just had two quick updates from my standpoint. I'm working with the Thornburg Foundation on a city data platform project where we're trying to build a dashboard that we can put on the website that sort of shows the health of the city from all different aspects: poverty, unemployment, movement of people, businesses, industry sectors, etc. It's just in the beginning stages, but once it's launched, I'd like to have the Thornburg Foundation folks come and do a presentation to this committee to see what's happening there. And then secondly, I just want to also give you an update that we are still in the diligence stage of the public sale notice of the Santa Fe Estates. We received about 17 tons of paperwork, and it's taking us a while to get through it. And so we thought we were going to be at title conveyance at the end of this month, but there's a lot of paperwork and 90 years worth of business transactions. So it's been delayed until about mid-August. And so once that's done, we'll probably come back to this committee, especially to talk about what's happening on the public sale process of the Santa Fe Estates. So those are two things I wanted to just quickly bring up.
Okay. Liz, are you just waving or oh, okay.
She's happy to be here.
I know Fabian's still signed on. Fabian, do you have any other report? Is Fabian with us?
I'm still here.
Do you have anything else, anything to add for staff reports, Fabian?
Sure. Yes, I've been working on assisting businesses. What do you call it? Liz told you about.
Fabian, you might have to turn off your video to make your audio work better.
Uh-oh.
The
I'm not getting it.
webinars that we put on different from most before you.
Fabian, we're having a problem with
Savant.
we can't hear you very well. It's maybe turn off your.
Does this look better? Can you hear me
Yes.
better now?
Better. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so going back, I've been helping a lot of existing businesses with COVID-19 and helping them with the different programs. I've worked with our current staff, and we've put on webinars that had over 1,000 people in both English and Spanish that talked about the CARES Act, the economic development programs. We've been meeting individually with businesses to help them get through a lot of this time, but also we've been working on expansions. This is a different time than other downturns, because usually most in the Great Recession, most of the expansion projects up. That has not been the case. We've been having success with certain expansions, particularly in the technology industry. We're going to be bringing a project before you called Savant X, which is a software developer that's going to be asking for LIDA loans, and I'm going to ask you to see if we can schedule a special meeting on the 29th of July, so we can review that LIDA project. But basically, it's a software development company that's going to be we recruited to Santa Fe. That's going to look to employ 128 people at salaries of $97,000 average. So, and they're going to be bringing a research center over here. But there's been other existing companies that are growing that I've been working with, and I'm hoping that we'll have more expansion projects and even LIDA projects going forward. It's there's a lot of activity going on, both helping existing businesses survive COVID, but also helping certain industry sectors grow and expand. So so those are some of the things that I've been working on.
Thank you, Fabian. So you heard Fabian say that there may be a special meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Committee on June 29th, and in keeping with I'm sorry?
July 29th, Counselor. I apologize.
Duh. So in keeping with our regular schedule, we would, ask to have that at 11 o'clock. Fabian, what's the timing? When will this group know if that's a meeting you're going to send out notice?
Well, I'm gonna send out requests today. So the time frames that if unless you can respond now, but the time frames would be 9 a.m., 11 a.m., or even 1 o'clock p.m. on the 29th. And if that doesn't work for everybody, we'll do it either on the 28th or another day that works. So if members of the committee know they can meet on July the 29th, please let me know either at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., or 1 o'clock p.m. And then we'll schedule that meeting so that we can review the Savant X project, and I'll give you a full briefing on that one and the LEADA project that we're looking to do for them.
So I would ask anybody now who knows that they're okay with the July 29th date, or who they're not okay with it. Anybody can't do July 29th? Okay, I suggest we do it at 11, not at 1, because it's a city council day and it's really hard to meet in the afternoon prior to council. So is 11 o'clock, July 29th, okay? All right, then it's settled. Fabian, you can move forward.
I'll take care of that today, Counselor.
Okay, are you fairly certain that project will be ready on that date or prior to, because the agenda materials have to be published for notice?
Yes, I'm pretty certain they'll be ready. They were pretty close to being ready for this meeting. We just couldn't get them, complete them. I've talked with the city attorney's staff, and they've told me that they can get them ready for that by that meeting for that date. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, now we're on items from the committee. Does anyone on the committee have anything they'd like to bring forward? Okay, next items from the chair. And oh, go ahead. Did somebody, John, did you have something?
I saw John raise his hand, that's all.
Oh, thank you, John.
Very briefly, thank you, Madam Chair. I know it's been a tough month in some respects since we last met. Very unfortunate crime against one of our businesses downtown that was appalling. And it was heartwarming to see the community respond the way they did. And also some of the protesting and divisiveness in our community that coincided with that. And I know right now some businesses we've heard are closed, and people are wondering what sort of unemployment and federal money is going to be forthcoming. We've got a long ways to go, obviously, and there's a lot of uncertainty still in the air. And thank you, by the way, Mr. Brown, for telling us what you've been doing and what the staff has been doing. You've got a small department with a small budget, and you're meeting the moment with energy, clearly. Thank you for that. But I just wanted to share an anecdote from last night, which in this context of what we're going through, warmed my heart and reminded me what the way forward will be. Last night was the anniversary of my return to Santa Fe after 20 chili-less years of exile in Los Angeles. And so I always celebrate that by going to El Pedasol, which is where I got my first night of chili. The afternoon I returned to Santa Fe. So I made that annual pilgrimage last night and ordered a few items and paid with the bill that I had and told the guy to keep the rest. And I turned around and there was clearly a kind of a destitute, if not homeless person right on my side. And he said, I'm really hungry. Can you spare some change? And I said, I just tipped away my change. I apologize. I don't have any other change. And for what it's worth, he was a gentleman of of a racial background that's of a distinct minority in our community, probably 1% for what that's worth. And he said, do you think they'll give me something to eat? And I said, they sure might, you should ask. And so I went and took my social distance position on the chair, and I heard him ask the guy, I haven't had anything to eat. It was right at closing time, right past closing time. And he said, I haven't had anything to eat. Can you help me? And I was curious as to what would transpire. And the proprietor looked at him and said, red or green? So that's our way forward. That's our community. We know that. And it's just a reminder that all of us as individuals and as businesses are always in a position to do something. Sometimes the best move on a chessboard is just pushing a pawn. We like to make grand, solve it all kind of moves, and we have to look for those too. But sometimes just a little move gets us forward. So thank you.
Wow, John, that was a wonderful story. Thank you so much. Gosh.
Go Santa Fe.
Yeah. Wow, that was great. Anything else from the committee? Okay, the report I have is just to let you know that Fabian and I have been, well, just collaborating a bit about the vacancies we have on this committee and the terms that are up and some of the members not planning or to continue. And so we haven't forgotten that, but we try to get good use out of everyone as long as we can. And thank you for that. So I've asked Fabian to move forward with, applications and such, and perhaps the target date to fill these positions under the appointment subject on the council agenda could be as early as July 29th. So I know some of you may be wondering, maybe we forgot about the composition of the committee, but we haven't. And so if any of you are up for, your terms are up or have been up and you're still serving, thank you. And you wish to continue to serve, please let Fabian know, and we'll get all of that coordinated and hopefully to the council agenda by July 29th. Or I guess I should also say, if you have people of interest that you think might be good on this committee, I believe, Fabian, it's not too late to apply, and we could get those resumes in for consideration. So
that is correct, Counselor.
Yes.
We're always taking resumes and cover letters for this committee.
All right.
Interested.
Thank you. Items from the public. Fabian, can you address that?
Sure, Counselor. We did not receive any items for public comment on Laporte, and I did not receive any other items for public comment on any other project. So we have no items from the public that were submitted in written form.
Okay, just to be clear, the Laporte is going to be set for public hearing, so there's still time for public comment on that. So next item is the next meeting date. So it will be July 29th at 11 o'clock. So put that on your calendar, and Fabian will get the notice out and the agenda prepared, and that's it. So I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll see you in less than a month.
Yeah.
So thanks again.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Stay well.
Thank you, Madam
Bye,
Chair.
Elizabeth.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Hi, Rich, and bye.
Okay. Joe? 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 Darn it. I want to get that thing done.